here's a question I have for you. Do I actually have free will, or is everything I do already determined by my past, by my trauma or my brain chemistry, call it whatever it is? So that's what we're going to get into today.
Welcome to Beyond the Facade podcast. I'm your host, Luke Gordon, and I'm thrilled to have you join me in this space today. What we're going to be doing is diving deep into the trials and triumphs and truths of seeking authenticity. Becoming your true self isn't about a single action or moment. It's a relentless pursuit, a commitment to self that reveals the rich connection and meaning that our life has to offer. So whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a regular listener, know this: what you're building here goes beyond a conversation. You're here to challenge, to change, and to celebrate the incredible journey of becoming your authentic self. Because when you dare to show up fully, the rewards are immeasurable. So welcome to Beyond the Facade. Let's get started.
I just want to say I'm going to completely let go of the outcome of this podcast. There's a part of me saying that this could be like any other podcast and just be regular, or this could trigger the heck out of some people. And I'm not just talking even betrayed partners. I'm talking about guys in recovery, or people in recovery, I should say. I know I would have had strong feelings about it to begin with. I would have had what I believed, and it would have challenged maybe some things that I believe. So just notice what comes up for you. And if you have things you further want to know, just shoot us a note and say, hey, talk about this some more. Or feel free to challenge. If you want to challenge, it's a perfectly acceptable thing to be doing. And I also want to just say that for myself, I'm working through this myself. So this concept for me, it feels like it really matters. In fact, the reason I'm recording this podcast is I just got done with one of my men's groups, and one of the participants brought this concept up, and they were talking about it with their therapist. And I just think it's valid and it matters. And there can be stuff that comes up with it. Okay, let me just dig into it. I just put the asterisks with it. I think this podcast for me often feels very unscripted. Not a lot of editing happens here, and it kind of feels like that's the way it needs to be because it is called Beyond the Facade. So if there was a lot of script and a lot of editing, it's kind of like feels like it'd lose the purpose. So anyway, I'll let go of the outcome. Here we go. All right. So here's the thought that I have for you. Like, if you've been stuck in like recovery or stuck in like addiction or compulsive behavior, and you've wondered like why you keep repeating the same behavior, like, why do I keep doing this? And your partner's asking you questions like, do you love me? Or why in the hell would you do this? What were you thinking? How could you do this? You're not alone. So in this episode today, we're going to explore like this word, if you've never heard of it, these words, what free will really is. So I'm going to define it, and we're going to talk why some people believe in it and why other people don't, and the extremes in both cases, and what has to be in place for free will, true choice, to even be possible. And I think this can be the most transformational part. And maybe that'll just be for me, like how important it feels. You can decide what that looks like for you. And also how this all connects to like a compulsive behavior, addiction, healing, transformation. Okay, so let's dive into it. Let's start with these two terms, free will and determinism. Okay, so let's define it, or give you the definitions. So free will is the belief that we can make real choices, not just reactions, not just like habits, but we have the capacity to pause, to reflect, and to go in a different way. Determinism, and we can go really extreme with either of these, free will, just complete choice, the ability. And then determinism, on the other hand, says everything we do is caused by something else, like whether it's trauma, our environment, our brain chemistry, the things that happened generational before this, our genetics, this thing that were handed down to us, like just, again, environment, I want to highlight. And so from like that view of determinism, like addiction or compulsive behavior can make a lot of sense. Somebody might say it's not weakness, it's the results of what happened to you. And this is where I think the triggers can come up. There can feel like a loss. Anyway, I'm not going to go there for a moment. So some people live in like one camp versus the other. Some people are like really far one direction and really far the other way, which is, no, you have choice. Like you have choice right now, just make it, right? Like you are at completely control. And the other ones are like, no, I don't have control. It is determined based upon all these things that are going on. We can live in tension between the two. If this is something that we've been around a while for, we can live in the middle. So let's talk about why people disagree. So if you believe in free will, like recovery becomes like a call to action, and you might be finding yourself saying, I can make better choices. I do have the power. But why other people disagree is it can also come from like shame when you don't have that. So you might be saying, if I could choose, why do I keep messing up? So if you don't believe in free will, you lean towards like determinism. Then recovery becomes more of act of compassion. So of course I'm here. Of course I've struggled, but it can also slide into like hopelessness. So if I didn't choose this, maybe I can't change it either. And that's why there's a lot of people, especially those of us who are working in like trauma-informed care, land in the middle. You were shaped by your past and you can shape your future. So I kind of like highlighted that for just a second, those extremes, and I did it like really fast. So let me slow it down. So there's this disagreement. I think early on, let's talk about my own journey, whether it was faith-based, whether it was culture, it really felt like the free will experience. Like, Luke, you're just not making a choice right now. I don't know if you would say, like, get your crap together, just try harder. Like you do have a choice. But then I did find myself floating to this place of like, why am I acting like feeling like in those moments? And we talk about it all the time, like leaving the values-based part of our brain into our survival part of our brain. I'm not going to use that language right now, but getting to the very end of the other side of the spectrum, which is like, shoot, maybe I don't have a choice. I've been trying this for a long time. And is this predetermined? Why do I keep struggling? Why do I keep messing up? Dr. Lemke talks about the broken hinge. Like maybe my brain doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. And why? And I guess I want to validate and have you notice if it was 0 to 10, 0, I believe in free will, 10, determinism, like I don't have a choice. Everything's predetermined by my experiences, by my trauma, by my genetics, by my environment. Like what's going to happen, not is going to happen. Just makes sense, makes space for the in between here for a second. But what I find to be interesting is if we talk about what has to be in place for free will to exist, this is the part that I love the most. If I want to believe, and if I choose to believe that free will is set, if I do have choice, there's a number of things that have to be in place for that to exist. Because free will isn't automatic. This is what I believe. It has requirements. So if that's the world I want to live in, right? If I do have choice, we can't negotiate with this part, right? So here's the things that have to exist. One, awareness. You can't choose what you can't see. So addiction narrows or compulsive behavior narrows the mind. Recovery expands awareness, right? So you can actually see options. And that's only through awareness. That's why denial is the first phase of the journey is coming out of denial. It's not just coming out of denial, it's coming into awareness, seeing things that I've never seen before. And obviously shame gets in the way of that. The more focused we are on other people and what they care about, what they think, we can't be in awareness. We can't really learn about ourselves. Okay, so awareness has to happen for free will to exist. The second thing that has to happen is regulation. So like emotional regulation. So if you're emotionally flooded, you're overwhelmed, you're triggered, your thinking brain shuts down. When our body in those moments, and it's in survival mode, there's no space for choice until regulation happens. And you'll just notice as I bring these in, 1, awareness, 2, regulation, I'll keep going here. Just notice like in the very beginning, I wanted to say free will is what I want my world to consist of, that I do have choice, but I was lacking what recovery actually is. And I'm going through those awareness, regulation. Here's the third one. It's understanding. So you need information, real honest understanding of what I'm going to call consequences of how your behavior affects people and affects you, affects other people, but not in a shaming way. I have to be educated and come in an understanding about what's actually happening and what's going on. Different than awareness, okay? Different than awareness. Understanding is really more about consequences, because this is going to play into number 5. And I have no idea whether I'm going too fast or not, whether you guys are mopping what I'm spilling right now or what's coming up for you, so you can give me that feedback at some point. Here's the 4th one. For free will to exist, I'm going to call this, I don't feel like it's completely right. I don't like the wording on this so much, but freedom from coercion. So no one makes good decisions underneath pressure. Okay. That includes internal coercion, like the voices that say you'll never be good enough. You're never going to get your crap together. So I'm not going to focus so much on the external voice. I'm going to focus on the internal voices, coercion. Like you don't have choices. Okay, so number 5, and it kind of technically plays into 4. Probably should keep these together. But anyway, it is what it is. There has to be a want to compared to I have to, or I'm being forced to. Because that's why humans do what they do. Really, it's 2 pieces of this. It's I want to do it, or I'm being made to do it. That's how we operate, right? And there has to be that want to in order for this to work. So when we say free will, we're not talking about forcing somebody to do better. We're talking about creating conditions where like real values aligned choices become possible, right? That's what has to happen for free will. And I guess I want to just say, when I sit with the betrayed partners, like whether it's in an intensive or whether I get a chance to be a guest in a group and talk to them and they're asking questions about their betraying partner, why did he do what he did? And they're saying, what brings me comfort? What brings me peace? I find it so interesting that what they're asking for is their partner to come into awareness, being able to emotionally regulate, being able to understand consequences. I think this freedom from coercion is a little bit interesting because I think this is around the trauma brain, the traumatized brain, that there can't be the pressure to focus on somebody else. I recognize that's a little bit nuanced, but this desire, this want to, is what makes it sustainable, even though for a period of time I have to, or I'm being forced to, can work. But desire really is the place that free will thrives, my ability to make a choice. So I'm just giving you some reframes with this, recovery reframes with free will, if this is hitting for you. Here's what I want to be able to get out of this, and maybe I want it for you, I don't know. So recovery isn't about pretending you had control. It's about restoring your ability to be able to choose. You don't get to choose what you've gone through. You don't get to pick your previous experiences, even generational past, the stuff that was handed down to you, like about what you were taught or genetically. You don't get to choose that stuff, right? You don't technically choose to numb out at age 12 because you didn't have the awareness of running how that was going to impact you, because you didn't have the knowledge. You didn't choose to internalize that you were unworthy, you were broken or dangerous. But here's what you can choose. Here's what you can choose to kind of move into that direction. You can get curious, and you can pause before reacting. You can do these things to create those 5 pieces that allow free will to exist, my ability to be able to choose. But it doesn't just happen. Like, it doesn't just happen, right? So yeah, I think there's a part of me that really wants to know for you how this hits. So hopefully I get a chance to in some way or another. And I just want to say thank you for those of you who get a chance to weigh in on these podcasts and say, hey, this is how this impacted me, good or bad or ugly. I'm really enjoying the fact that we get people to say, hey, elaborate on this. So I find that to be rewarding. So thank you for those pieces, and just excited to have dialogue with you more about this. Let me know if there's just something more that you want to go through on this. It'd be important to take the conversation further. Okay, so let me just give you some questions before I leave you with this. So let me ask you a few questions you can sit with today. Do you believe in free will? Why or why not? Or are you more determinism? Here's another prompt for you to just kind of noodle on. Can you noodle this? Think about it. Some people, I found out in different parts of the country, that's not the verbiage they use. Here's the next prompt. Can you remember a moment when it didn't feel like you had a choice? Okay. Can you remember a moment in your recovery when you did choose something different? And what was the environment that made that happen? So the point of today's episode isn't necessarily to want to land on a debate with this, if it would even create one, is to more open up to new thought and more dialogue around this. So anyway, thank you for spending time with me, and looking forward to see what comes of it. Take care.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. If this is something that you connected with, I'd love to meet with you more and talk about it. So what you can do is go to chooserecoveryservices.com or check the show notes. And there what we can do is set up a quick conversation to meet. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Facade, where we unmask the authentic self.